Hi, welcome to this week's dynamic practice. It's called The Tall Mountains of Autumn, and that is a line from a poem by Ryōkan I'll share with you at the end of our session today. Yoga teachers call it several things: ground to lift or root to rise. We'll be practicing standing poses. They get more complex as we go along. The idea being as we can ground, so we can lift and go, as Ryōkan says, across and beyond. And so I interpret that poem here, across and beyond, as being some twists. So we'll be doing some standing twists, seated twists, some abdominal work there, and then close with a meditation that you can do either in Shavasana or seated. I have a block and a strap at the ready. We will also be doing some one-legged balances. So if you need a wall or something to steady yourself for that, go ahead and make room for that. Okay, great. And so please, let's get started. We're going to start lying on the back with feet flat on the floor. Knees are bent. And please take hands underneath the head. And we're going to pause here, tap into your breathing. Breathe in and out of your nose if you can. And into your abdomen. So deep breath in. And exhale. And so check in with your breathing and see to it that you can breathe into abdominal center so you can relax your abdomen on inhale. And as you exhale, you can recruit your abdomen, draw your navel toward the floor. You can also press your low back into the floor. And this is the first move we're going to work with. As you inhale, breathe into your belly. You can also arch your back here, so spinal extension. And then as you exhale, navel toward the floor, low back into floor. And alternate between these two states a few times. Inhale into extension. Exhale into some abdominal work and some flexion. Go back and forth like this a few times. To start mobilizing hips and low back. Okay, great. And then we're going to add hip and shoulder movement. As you inhale, you're going to arch your back, but also take your knees and elbows out and toward the floor. So deep breath in the belly here. And then as you exhale, knees together, elbows together, you press your low back into the floor and lift your head and shoulders up off the floor. And you're going to go back and forth like this a few times. So you are adding shoulder and hip movement into this work that you're already doing with your breath and your spine. So as you inhale, arch your back, breathe in the belly. As you exhale, low back into the floor, elbows and knees together, shoulder blades lift off the floor. So it's a more sort of comprehensive move based on the old-fashioned crunches. So go back and forth like this another few times. Very good. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. And so keep on doing this move with your torso, but keep your feet on the ground. So we're now eliminating the leg movement for now, the hip movement for now. Exhale, low back into the floor, elbows together and up. Inhale, elbows out to the side, arch your back. And when you exhale, you're going to pick up your elbows and then turn your torso to one side. So now you're adding a twist into it. Inhale is back to the center, and you can arch your back, draw your shoulder blades in. Exhale, you lift, and then you twist elbows together into the other side. So go back and forth like this several times. The inhale is still symmetric. The exhale is where we add the twist to one side. Inhale is symmetric. Exhale, you lift, and you twist to the other side. So go back and forth like this a few times. And the more you can press your low back down, the more you can twist. The more you press your hips and low back into the floor. So rooting to rise here. Okay, very good. And then one more piece of work here. As you exhale and twist to a side, lift that leg, press the heel up toward the ceiling. And then as you inhale, head and foot land at the same time. Exhale, you root to rise, twist to the one side. The side that you're twisting to, press the heel up toward the ceiling. And inhale is symmetric again. And you go back and forth like this several times. Yeah. Shoulder blades draw in on inhale, elbows together on exhale, and then you twist. The side that you're twisting toward, you're lifting your leg and pressing your heel up toward the ceiling. All right, and you started on one side, so cycle through until you are on your second side. And then when your head and feet land, keep your feet where they are. Inhale, arch your back. Exhale, lift your head and shoulders, and then draw your knees and elbows all together. And go back and forth like this a few times. Inhale, arch your back. Elbows out to the sides. Exhale, elbows together. Press your low back into the floor and squeeze your knees and elbows, all four of them together a few times. Okay, great. And then your feet land on the floor, hands next to hips. And now you're going to ground the feet. You're going to root the feet down so that the hips can rise up into bridge on your inhale. So you feet down, inhale, press your hips up toward the ceiling. Feet ground, so hips lift. And then exhale, you lower back down. And try this a few times here. So now we're activating back body. Breathe into abdomen on inhale. Exhale as you lower down. And do this a few times. See that the footfall is equal stance between feet. So like mountain pose, like Tadasana, between feet. And you can stay with the two-legged bridge pose. You can also try alternating legs. In that case, please bring your feet a little bit closer together so the base of support feels pretty solid. So the one-legged version, you press one foot down and you press the other heel up toward the ceiling. Inhale, the feet land next to one another at the same time that your hips land, and then you're going to alternate legs. And as you press one foot down, the other foot presses up toward the ceiling. So go back and forth like this several times. It's almost like an upward facing Hanumanasana, like a split, like we're slowly separating the legs, one in front, one in back. And the more you can press your down foot down, notice the more power you have to press the top foot skyward. And you started with one leg. If you did, finish with the other side. Okay, great. And then lower down. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, turn around, lie face down. So I'll switch orientations, but you don't have to. You're just going to lie face down. You can relax your forehead on top of your hands. And curl your toes under and press your heels back as far as you can. So heels press back. And you can also press your hips into the ground. It's going to activate your glutes. So heels press back. Hips press down. You can either stay here, or if you'd like to get a side stretch, take your head and your arms to one side. So essentially one elbow is going forward. Keep the same side heel pressing back and keep that hip down. So I am turning to the, it doesn't matter which side you turn to, but I'm turning to the left, so I'm really focusing on my right side because it's getting longer, and the tendency is going to be for the hip to want to unground. Press your hips into the floor, heels press back, your one elbow slides forward. 2 more breaths here. Okay, great, and then come to center. If you'd like to try the other side, let's check it out. So I'm going to take my head and arms to the right, which means I'm focused on my left side. So heels press back, particularly left. Press your hips into the ground, particularly left, and send the front elbow as far forward as you can, and breathe into the side stretch. A few times here. Very good. Take a deep breath in. Okay. And then come back to center. Point your toes back. Slide your toes as far back as you can as a counter to pressing the heels back. And then from here, lie on your side. You can use your bottom arm. It doesn't matter which side to start on. We'll do both. But you're going to lie your head on bottom hand. This is in a fetal position. And every exhale, you relax in fetal position. As you inhale, you reach your top arm overhead and press your top heel in opposite direction. So you're going to reach way beyond your head. And then exhale, you recoil and relax. And breathe into the top side of this move. So I'm breathing in my top lungs, my top waist, my top shoulder. And repeat this another few times. Deep breath in, top leg, you press the heel out as far as you can. Sense the stretch on the upper side. Take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then roll over to the other side. I'm going to change orientation for demonstration purposes. And so my other arm is being used as a pillow. I'm in the side version of fetal position. Every exhale, I relax to this spot. And as I inhale, I'm going to reach my arm overhead, press your heel in the opposite direction, and breathe into the top. Breathe into the top ribs, the top waist. Repeat this several times. Does this side feel tighter, looser, or the same, or just different? So this is good, especially at the beginning of the practice, good time to check in. Breathe into the top side one more time. And then exhale from there, release. All right, and let's go back to the first side. So that was side body work. Now we're going to work with front and back body. This is what I call the slow kick of football. The top leg is up the whole time. And as you inhale, you're going to point your toes behind you, bend your knee, arch your back, and look beyond the top of your head. So it's like you're trying to point your toes toward the back of your head as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, tuck your chin around your back and press your heel out in front of you. So it's like you're trying to point your toes at the top of your head, front of your head. Go back and forth like this several times. So you're squeezing the muscles of the back body on inhale. Exhale, you're squeezing the muscles of your front body. And you go back and forth like this another few times. Good. And one more slow kick of the football. Inhale as you squeeze your back body. Exhale, you squeeze your front body. Great. And then from there, release. Let's lie on the other side. Change sides again. One more time. Top leg. It's a neutral position, almost like a side mountain pose on the top side of your body. And then as you inhale, you're going to point your toes, bend your knee, Take your thigh back and extend your spine like you're trying to point your toes at the back of your head. That's on inhale. And then as you exhale, tuck your chin around your back and press your heel out forward. And you're gonna go back and forth like this several times here. Breathe in. Huge exhale. Yeah, and link the breath with the movement. This can have a sense of gracefulness. It tends to become more graceful when you're breathing. Yeah, the breath becomes really important too when we're working on complex standing poses. So practice good breathing here. Another 2 or 3 times. Okay, great. So from here, lie face up for a moment, and after all of those myofascial release practices and the movements, it allows you to get in touch with the dimensions of your body. So notice the length of your body. Notice the width of your body. And notice the depth of your body. Okay, very good. And then from here, let's come up through seated and come into downward facing dog. So from hands and knees, you're gonna curl your toes under. Hands plant, toes curl under, and then you lift your inner thighs back and up into downward facing dog. All right, so first big posture of the day. As you're in downward facing dog, inner thighs lift as your heels press down and back. So we get a hamstring stretch, calf stretch. And from there, it's almost like you're pressing your toe mounds into the floor to lift your inner thighs up. Also press your hands down to lift your inner thighs up. So everything that's on the floor is grounding. And that gives some almost like kinetic energy, like oppositional energy to lift the inner thighs up. So toe mounds press down to lift thighs, hands can press down to lift thighs. And you're going to keep the hips up as high as you can as you bend the knees, but the upper thighs are still lifting. And then from there, you extend the legs back into downward facing dog. And you do that 2 more times. You bend your knees while still lifting the upper inner thighs. And then exhale, re-extend your legs. One last time here, take a deep breath in, bend your knees while still lifting upper thighs, and extend. Very good. Take a deep breath in, and exhale from there. You can bend your knees, step up to the top of the mat, and then inhale, arms sweep up overhead. Take a huge inhale. As you drive your feet down, lift your lungs and your fingers skyward. And exhale from there. Come back into mountain pose. And of course, this is very iconic. This, as the title, The Tall Mountains of Autumn. As you drive your feet down, lift your lungs up tall, so you feel the length of your body. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Okay, and then you step your feet a little wider. So it's like a wider mountain. You drive your feet down, hands next to hips. And every exhale, we will return to this spot, this center spot. I will mirror you at this point. So I'm gonna lift my left arm, but you're gonna lift your right arm. So you lift your right arm nice and high, and as you reach your fingers up, notice you can get more lift as you press your feet through the floor. So feet down, reach your arms up. Hold your inhale as you fold to the left. That's going to stretch your right body. And then exhale as you come back to center. And then as you inhale, left arm reaches up toward the ceiling. Drive your feet down, fingers up as high as you can. Hold your inhale as you fold to the side, stretching your left side. And exhale, come back to center. Let's do that a few more times. Right arm up. Inhale, part two, lift higher. Hold the breath as you fold. Drive your feet down to lift your lungs. And exhale as you come out of that. As you inhale, lift your left arm up. Inhale, part two, drive your feet down to reach up. Hold the breath as you fold. Keep your feet anchored. And exhale, come back to center. 4 more times. Right arm reaches up. Inhale, part two. Hold the breath. Fold to the left. Stretch the right side. And huge exhale. Center. Left side up. Take a deep breath in. Drive your feet down to lift. Ground to lift. Hold the breath and fold. And exhale as you come back to center. And 1 more time per side. Reach your right arm up. Drive your feet down to lift high. Hold the breath. Fold to the left. And exhale, come out of that. And same thing on the left. Last time here, drive your feet down. Inhale, part two. Breathe as much as you can. Hold the breath. Fold to the right. And exhale as you come out of that. All right. Very nice. Side angle is next. So I recommend grabbing the block, because we're going to really drive hands into the block today. There's several instances of this. So once again, I'm still mirroring. You're going to turn your right toes out to the right, and you're going to bend your right knee to the right. So this winds up being a warrior two to start. Okay, so find a comfortable stance like that. And then from here, you're going to take your right hand to the block, to the floor. It's on the inside of the leg. So from here, drive your front foot into the floor, drive your hand into the block, and both of those are going to help roll your navel up toward the ceiling. Okay, so front foot and the hand press down to roll your navel up. And then from here, your back foot presses down to reach your top arm up overhead. Okay, so the side angle, it can really work from the ground up. The front hand and foot press down to roll your belly up. Your back foot presses down to reach your arm overhead. Now breathe into your left side another few times here. Huge inhale. Big exhale. Deep breath in. You roll the belly higher by pressing your front foot and your hand down. You get more length on your left side by pressing your back foot down. All right, and one last time here. Take a deep breath in. Okay, top hand back to the hip. Drive both feet through the floor and see if you can come back up to like a warrior two, torso at least, maybe not the arms. But you're driving your feet down to come back up, and let's bend the knees a little bit to switch. Also switch the block. So it's in your left hand, left toes point out to the left. Take a huge inhale here, and then exhale, send your knee over. So here we have warrior two stance, warrior two torso. Deep breath in, block goes to the inside of your leg on this one, at least for today. So from here, front foot, drive it through the floor, like we did in bridge pose. Bottom hand, drive it through the block, and that helps you roll your navel skyward. So there's the pairing of opposites, the rooting of your front limbs to rise your belly. And then from here, your back foot roots to raise your top arm overhead. Okay, so this is very sort of, it's like a cross. So front foot rolls your belly up and back foot reaches your arm overhead. So to honor the poem, the Ryōkan phrase, across and beyond, we are going sort of like making the letter X here, pressing the front foot down to roll the belly up, back foot down to reach the arm overhead, and then breathe into your whole system. Yeah, 2 more breaths. Root everything that's on the floor, drive it through the floor. Everything that's up, grow it taller. Take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then from here, drive your feet through the floor. You can come back up to warrior two type stance, and then from there, straighten the legs. And we'll come up to the top of the mat. Put the block down for a second. Drive your feet down, lift your lungs up. And see if you can press your right foot down in order to get a sense of lifting your left lung. And then press your left foot down in order to get a sense of lifting your right lung. So it's like you're making, this is all mental, it's like you're making an X across the whole body, and one foot presses down to lift the opposite lungs. Of course, if you do that at the same time, both lungs will lift. Very good. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Okay, and at the top of the lunge, I'm no longer mirroring. We're all going to keep the right foot forward, step the left foot back, and you're going to take your left hand down to the block to the floor. This is lunge. Ultimately, if you don't need a block, you can also take your hand down to the floor. Okay, but I'll demonstrate with the block. So from here, you're going to drive your front foot into the floor, drive your back toes into the floor, like we were doing the slow kick of the football. And option number one is to stay here and work on adding more and more weight into your feet, less and less weight into your hands. And option number two, if you'd like, if all the weight's in your feet and no weight's in your bottom hand, you can reach that bottom arm forward. So you drive your feet down, draw your navel up a little bit, and then as you press your back heel back, reach your front arm forward. And there's 2 breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, breath in. Okay, and if your arm's out in front of you, take hold of the block, move it forward, and inhale, come up to standing. So you drive your front foot through the floor. Let's come up to mountain, find that diagonal. One foot presses down to lift your other lung. Both the strokes of the X happen at the same time. And let's try that on the other side. So you're going to take the lunge, right foot back, and your right hand is on the block on the floor as an option. If you'd rather take your hand to the floor, that's okay. But you're going to press your feet down, press your front foot down, feel the entirety of your front foot anchored, and press your back foot into the floor like you're kicking the football. And option number one is here and working on the leg stability, working on that rooting of your feet. So really rooting feet through the floor. Option number two, if you'd like, if your rooting can be exclusively in the feet and you don't need your right arm for balance, you can send your right arm forward. And this will also give you some side length as you press your back heel back, reach your fingertips forward, and breathe into this whole thing a few times. Okay, very good. From here, if you're using the block, you can move that out of the way. Drive your feet through the floor, lift your torso up, and step up to the front of your mat. Press both feet down to lift the diagonal lung. Okay, very nice. And again, right foot stays forward, left foot goes back, and you can use the block or not to come into your lunge. Okay. From here, left hand is on the block. Your right arm is now going to go out to the right, and you're going to press your left hand into the block or the floor to reach your top arm up toward the ceiling. So now we're in a revolved lunge. Also, that diagonal in our body, you're going to press your back foot down and get a sense of trying to lift your left lung up toward the ceiling. Your right lung up toward the ceiling. So back foot presses down to lift your lung up. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time. Okay, and then you de-rotate. You can move the block out of the way. Lungs lift, and you step forward. And we'll repeat that on the other side. Hopefully I get my cues right on this one. Left foot forward, right hand onto the block. Okay, I'm going to turn around for demonstration purposes, but you don't have to. From here, you drive your foot through the floor, reach your left arm out to the left. Now, you can press your right hand into the floor to help navigate the twist. But I also like you to observe, can you press your back toes into the floor like you're kicking the football in order to lift your left lung up toward the ceiling? So this is the diagonal still. Right toes press into the floor to lift your left lung, which is lifting your top arm as well. And there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time. Okay, and you can de-rotate, move the block out of the way. Inhale, lift your lungs up, and then exhale, you're gonna step up to the top, mountain pose. Feel the diagonals, take a deep breath in, and then step out to the side of the mat. We're gonna take a wide-legged fold. With feet fairly wide, bend your knees, and you're gonna take your hands down to the floor. The first thing we're gonna do is round the back to get more of a stretch through the sacrum and the low back. But really drive your feet through the floor and lift your inner thighs up toward the ceiling. That should give you as much stretch in your hamstrings as you'd like. A few breaths here. You really feel the footprint of both feet into the mat. Okay, take a deep breath in. Big exhale. All right, bend your knees a little bit. And if you need to take your feet a little closer together to come up, you can do that. From here, hands onto the hips, and you drive your feet through the floor. Feel the diagonal lift of the lungs. If you're prone to lightheaded, in fact, let's just all reach our arms overhead, especially if you're prone to lightheadedness here. Reach your fingers up by pressing your feet down. Take a deep breath in, and exhale from there. Release. Okay, and we're back up to the top of the mat. The right foot's going to be forward. This is revolve lunge again with a balance challenge. Right foot's forward, the left foot's back. So your left hand is on the floor or on the block. Roll your navel to the right and drive your feet down to reach your top arm up. Okay, so when we first did this about 2 minutes ago, the bottom arm was on the floor. That's option number 1. Option number 2, see if you can press your back toes into the floor and lift your right lung high enough to float your bottom arm. So the hands doesn't have to go up high, just like a millimeter off the block or a millimeter off the floor is good enough for the balance. But you're doing that by pressing the back toes into the floor and lifting the diagonal from your left toes to your right lung. And 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, hand back down to block or floor. You can move the block out of the way. And then lift both lungs, step up to the top. Drive both feet down to lift your lungs up. All right, and we'll try that on the other side. Again, you don't have to switch sides. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. But your right foot's forward, left toes on the floor. And we're now in a lunge with the left foot forward. So from here, left arm out to the side. Exhale, you can rotate navel up toward the ceiling. Option number 1 is to press both your down hand and your back foot into the floor to help lift your lungs. Option number 2, should you choose to explore it, is by pressing the back foot down more and more and more and more, like you're kicking the football. See if you can lift your top lung higher and higher. And you may be able to lift your bottom fingers, your bottom fingers will just float off the block or float off the floor by pressing your back toes down and lifting your left lung skyward. And there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, deep breath in. Okay, great. And then you de-rotate if you're using the block, take it out of the way, and you drive your front foot up to mountain pose. Take mountain pose here for a breath or 2. Big inhale, big exhale, deep breath in, and exhale. Okay. All right, right foot forward, left foot back. This is a shorter lunge. This is a hybrid between pyramid and lunge. So it's a pyramid in that it's shorter, but it's a lunge in that the back heel is still up. So you're gonna bend your front knee a little bit and take, well, my right hand's to my hip, left hand's to the block. You can also take it to the floor. And this is gonna be a little bit more with the front leg straight, and you get more of a hamstring stretch here. So front foot, you press the big toe mound into the mat. The tendency is to sink onto the pinky toe side. So not that you have to lift your pinky toes, but drive the entire foot into the floor, slide your right hip back. And leave a footprint, right foot straight into the floor. And there's 2 more breaths here with your back leg in sort of a hybrid. It's almost like a shorter lunge with the front leg straight, but the back leg is doing what it's been doing in lunges. Okay, you can either stay here, or if it feels okay, transfer the weight into your front foot. That means everything else on the floor is going to be dragged forward. So at this point, my hand's now off my mat, left hand on the block is forward, and you drive your right foot into the floor enough to lift your back leg up off the floor. We're now in Warrior 3. Okay, you drive it down, drive it down, drive it down. And the back heel, press the heel back. If you'd like, all the weight's in the foot. If your bottom hand floats, if your left hand floats, as you press your left heel back, you can reach your left arm forward. And as all of this is going on, just kind of note the opposites and stay focused on driving your foot into the floor. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, hand back to the block. You can take your back toes onto the floor again. And from here, block out of the way, lift up, and come up to standing mountain pose. Drive your feet through the floor to lift your diagonal lungs. So feet down, lungs up. Oftentimes I think people assume that means only like right foot down and lift the right lung. I think of it that way, and I also think of the cross hatch, so we can come through the midline. Okay, and let's try that on the other side. So pyramid to Warrior 3. Your left foot's going to be on the floor. The right foot steps back, not as far as in lunge. The heel's going to be up. So back leg is straight. And from here, right hand onto the block, left hand onto hip. And we're going to treat this like pyramid in the front leg. So you're going to press the big toe mound as well as the little toe mound into the floor, heel, inner, outer, and center. Heel presses down. And get the length of the leg. So we're stretching out the back side of your left leg. Drive your foot through the floor. Okay, good. And after spending some time in that pyramid option, from here you're going to add some weight into the front foot. That means basically the right side of your body moves forward, so that all the weight's in your left foot. Lift your back thigh up, so right leg is up in the air. All right, and so you drive your standing foot down to lift the back thigh, to lift your lungs a little. And if it feels okay, more and more weight into the foot, less and less weight into your right hand, and the more you press your right heel back, the more you're going to be able to reach your right arm forward. So there's a lot of opposites going on. Once you know the opposites, mind's eye on what's left on the ground, root it down in order to lift and lengthen. And there's 2 more times here. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, great. Your hand can go back to the block. You shift your weight toward your back foot so it can land. And then from there, block out of the way. Drive your feet through the floor to lift your lungs. And step up into mountain pose. A few breaths here. Drive your feet down to lift your lungs. keep that root to rise action through the legs. So the feet root down to almost lift the inner thighs. Feet down, inner thighs lift, and then you're gonna forward fold. So inner thighs lift, sitting bones lift. Hands can go to shins. Hands can go onto the floor. Peace fingers around big toes is another option for our standing forward fold. And so this is almost like a localized action of the grounding to lift. As you drive your feet down, feel the inner thighs in particular. The thighs are lifting, but the inner thighs are lifting. And another 30, 45 seconds here. So after all the engagement work our back body's been doing, we get a chance to release the back body here by engaging the front body a little. There's a couple more breaths. Okay. Very good. So from the forward fold, you can plant your hands, step back into downward facing dog. All right, and this gives us a chance to squeeze the muscles of the low back to send the pubic bone up, give a little bit of space to belly. You keep that space in your navel, arch the back a little bit like we did at the top of our practice, and then you press the heels back from there. So 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and deep breath in. Okay, great. And then knees come down, come around to seated. This time with our legs. Our legs are going to be in front in a seated pose, Dandasana. And this is where we're going to start the seated sequence. So Dandasana. The tendency, especially if the hamstrings are tight, is for the tailbone to kind of collapse underneath. So you're going to drive the sitting bones down, but in particular, and start by bending your knees on this. In particular, the front side of your sitting bones, as opposed to the back side of your sitting bones. So drive the front side of your sitting bones into the floor. And when the front side of the sitting bones drive down, it essentially squeezes the muscles in the back body. It allows the lungs to lift. Okay, and then keep that length through the spine and extend your legs either a little bit or not at all, a little bit or a fair amount. Okay, so the arching of the back is a crucial support for the lumbar spine. Hands can be on the sides or on the hips, however you want to do this. And then from there, you're going to keep the front side of your sitting bones rooted. See if you can lift one heel up. So like an inch or 2. Pause there. All right. Without trying to, without rounding the spine. So we're still trying to root front side of the sitting bones to rise. And then you lower that heel and you try that on the other side. So sitting bones down, lifting the lungs. Sitting bones down helps lift your heel. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale from there. Come back down. Okay. So from here, we're not going to go into like boat and half boat, but I'm doing a similar thing here, which now we're going to mindfully slide the tailbone underneath, slide it forward, and draw your navel in. So this is the rounding of the spine. And then from here, you arch your back, press front of the sitting bones down to lift your lungs. And let's try that a few times. I usually exhale as I round. It's a good time to expel air. And as you engage your back body, it's a good time to invite air in. So go back and forth like this another few times. And we're working with anterior and posterior tilt of the hips. I'm feeling my heels go back and forth like this too, right? Because we're rounding, or we're rolling across different parts of our hips. So it means we're in slightly different parts in space. So you might feel the heels slide on the mat a little bit. And this is option number one, to continue this for the next minute or so. If you'd like option number two, as you lift your lungs, also lift one leg up as high as you're able to. So you arch your back, lift your lungs, and then exhale, heels down, draw your navel in. And then arch your back at the same time as you lift your other foot. And then exhale, you round. And you go back and forth like this, working on the mechanics of rooting to rise. And as you're trying to ground the front side of your sitting bones, you're lifting both your heel and your lungs. So yeah, feel that, if you're lifting the legs, do this, well, let's everyone just do it twice more, feeling the psoas work on one side, and then you exhale, round your spine, that's your abdominals, and the psoas works on the other side, and then exhale, round your abdominals, and then let's all come up to seated. All right, and take a break there. Big inhale, big exhale. So from here, let's take our legs wider. And now we're going to combine that work with a twist. So the legs they don't have to be as wide. In fact, I'll face you on this one. Legs don't have to be as wide as you can possibly make them. But they're wide enough to make it a challenge to twist. So let's begin again by exhale. You slide your tailbone underneath, you round your spine. Now as you inhale, sitting bones drive down, lungs lift, and then you reach one hand past your other foot as far as you can. And then from there you come back to center, slide your tailbone forward, draw your navel in. Inhale, arch your back and reach one arm across as far as you can. And you're going to go back and forth like this slowly. So because we are rotating the hips back and forth, this is alternating between sort of symmetric core work, psoas work, and symmetric abdominal work. But at the exact same time, we're asking our psoas to work to lift the lungs. We're including this rotation. So this winds up being a very dynamic practice where we can reach across the body and, if possible, beyond your foot. I'm trying to honor the Ryōkan line, across and beyond. Now, as you're reaching across, the opposite hip might want to lift, grounded down. That's the root to rise across and beyond. So go back and forth like this another 30 seconds. If you're reaching one direction, opposite hip has to stay down. So really focus. If you reach to the left, your right sitting bone is grounding, and that will actually facilitate the reach. Okay, very good. And then from here, you come back to center, drive your sitting bones through the floor, lift your lungs. Okay, we're going to gather the legs, come back to seated. And this is, again, not quite boat, not quite Russian twists, a little bit of both. But we're going to start reaching forward, feet comfortably in. If you take your feet really close in, this is going to be really hard. So I'd say take your feet a little wider, and that allows you to draw your sacrum in, slide the tops of your sitting bones into the ground, lift your lungs. And from here, we can take hands in prayer position or just interlace your fingers. And you're going to arch your back here And then as you exhale, twist to one side. And then as you inhale, you come back to center. You're staying lifted in the low back. Exhale, you twist to the other side. And inhale, you come back to center. Go back and forth like this a few times. So here are our obliques. And the tendency, at least the way I feel it, is as I'm twisting to one side, all of my weight kind of goes into the side that I'm twisting toward. So to help me anchor my Russian twists, as I twist to a side, I lift that leg up. And what that does is prioritize pressing down the opposite sitting bone. And then I come back to center, heels land. Now I'm going to twist to my left. So I'm lifting my left leg, my left heel, and pressing my right sitting bone down. And then you come back to center, root to rise, exhale, root to go across and beyond. Inhale to center, arch your back. Exhale, you twist. Keep opposite sitting bone rooted. And you go back and forth like this another few times. And make sure you're going slow, so you're not jostling your bones. You're really trying to utilize your musculature as best you can. So smooth operating. Okay, very good. So come back to center. You can release from that. Sitting bones go back in space. Pause in Supta Dandasana. Take a deep breath in. And big exhale. Okay, right leg stays where it is. Left foot into inner thigh. We'll take Janu Shirshasana. And you're going to lengthen up through navel. Roll your belly to the right and fold down your right leg. Okay, and as you're folding down your right, ground your left sitting bone into the floor. And then breathe into your left low back a few times. So we worked a lot on our back body. Now we get a chance, another chance to lengthen it, let it release a little, and breathe into it for another few breaths. Okay, great. And you can use your back body to lift your lungs up. Extend your left leg forward. We'll switch sides. Left foot forward, right foot into inner thigh. And you're going to arch your back as you inhale. Bit of a twist, belly to the left, and you fold down your left leg. And as you fold down your left, ground your right sitting bone. And consider taking the breath into your right low back, which has done a lot of stabilizing today. So now it gets a chance to relax and release. So notice the stretch in the back of left leg. Low back might even be in the mid back, depending on how much you choose to round. And breathe here another couple times. Okay, great. And then from there, you come back up Extend both legs forward. And last big stretch for the back body. You slide your sitting bones back. Root your sitting bones down to lift your lungs. And then exhale, you forward fold. Hands can go to thighs, shins. You can also use your strap around your feet if you'd like. Or you can take hands to feet and forward fold in Paschimottanasana. Of course, you can engage your front body a little bit in order to stretch the back. So you press the heels forward, you feel your shin muscles work, thighs working gently, the navel can work for you. And then you breathe into the stretch on your back body. Another 30 seconds. Okay. Great, so on your next inhale, make your way back up, lie on the back, and you're gonna take the block at any level that feels comfortable. We'll be up in bridge variations for about 2 minutes. So I would choose the medium height, not the biggest one, for demonstration. But you can go higher or lower than this. Okay, so make sure that your sacrum feels anchored, your hips feel anchored. Take a deep breath in the navel. And then exhale, please draw right knee into chest. And option number 1 is to stay here. Option number 2 is to press the foot that's on the floor, left heel, can slide it forward, press it forward. It might straighten a little bit, or it might extend a little bit, it might straighten fully. And especially if the heel's pressing forward, you can breathe into your left psoas area, the front side of your left hip. And after a whole bunch of good psoas and abdominal work today, we can allow the front body to release and relax as we breathe into it. And 2 more breaths here. All right. And then right foot on the floor. Please draw your left knee, hug it in tight. And you can stay here, breathe into abdomen or the front side of your right hip. If you want more stretch through the psoas, you start to slide your heel forward. Leg could extend part way. Some of you may be able to extend it all the way, and that's fine. But especially if you're pressing the heel forward, you're going to get length through the front side of your right hip. So breathe into that. So stretch through psoas, iliacus, and the right side of our abdominals. 2 more breaths here. Okay, and then from there, left foot on the floor, right foot on the floor. You can stay here for the last moment, or if you'd like to, you press the heels forward, both of them. And that will give a little more intense stretch, at least for me it does, through the abdomen. And breathe into the belly. Okay, very good. So place your feet flat on the floor. Engage your glutes a little bit to support your sacrum, and you're going to lift your hips off the block. Hips lower down. Draw your knees into your chest. Give your knees a good hug. Take a deep breath into your low back. Okay, great. And then from here, you can either A, extend your legs forward into a Shavasana. For our final relaxation and meditation, you can lie on the back the whole time. Also, if you'd like, you can find a comfortable seat. This will be a meditation on the Ryōkan poem. You can choose to ignore it and utilize your own Shavasana practices. But either on the floor or if you're sitting up, it's one last sort of gentle example of rooting your contact points into the floor, which in this case just means your body weight, for a gentle lift through the front side of our spine. But if you're on the back, you can let everything go. If you're sitting upward, there's a gentle lift through low back to help support your spine and to keep your lungs soft and open. Okay. So notice the feedback your body is giving you moment to moment. Notice the energy in your entire system all at one time. So it's this haze, it's this fuzz of sensation arising all at once, moment to moment. And if any thought arises, you can allow the thought space to relax, just as you would allow your body to relax on the floor. Or if you're seated, you can allow your legs to relax, arms to relax. Everyone can relax their jaw. Everybody can relax their tongue. And you can stick with tracking these physical sensations. If you'd like to engage and be with the poem by Ryōkan, I will read it twice. Across and beyond the tall mountains of autumn, I have come along. Flush maple leaves around me, so bright as to light my way. Across and beyond the tall mountains of autumn, I have come along. Flush maple leaves around me, so bright as to light my way. So see if you can notice how we have become flush, where we moved our blood, our fluid body, all the active work we've done. Like a maple leaf, notice where we have been flushed, and notice where we have been bright. Okay. Very good. So if you are lying on your back, start taking some gently deeper inhales and exhales as you wiggle your limbs, wiggle your head, wiggle your spine back into movement. And draw both knees into chest. Inhale here. And exhale, you can roll over to one side. Pause on your side for a moment. And then with as little effort as possible, make your way up to a comfortable seat. All right. So let's all notice our contact points again. What's touching the floor? What have we rooted in order that we can gently rise? What mountains have we come across and beyond so we can feel flush and bright? Okay. And gently open your eyes. All right. Yes. So thank you very much for practicing with me. Bow to yourselves and the community watching. I do that. Take care. Namaste.